Artistic Gamer 7 and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Obviously, this is another speed build video, though I'm starting out a little bit differently. I'm actually fooling with the terrain tool a little bit. I admit I don't use it too often just because you can't, to me, you can't go like super crazy with it just because the land and stuff around the lots usually don't have crazy terrain, and like the terrain that you do on the lot doesn't affect the land any like it did in like Sims 3. So a lot of times if you're not careful, to me it looks so out of place. So I try not to like get it like up too high because it just looks really strange to some degree. Like putting like a rock or something that's made a little bit bigger actually looks sort of normal, but when you're actually doing the land, it doesn't look quite as natural. So I don't use it too often, sadly, even though I would like to. It's just, it doesn't look as great as I wish it would. But, you know, oh well. So anyway, on to this build. So originally this build was actually inspired by a build from a game, and it started out strongly inspired by it, but as I went on, I started changing it and not sticking with the colors as much and sort of doing sort of my own thing. But the house that it was going to be sort of inspired by, and I was going to try to like as closely replicate as possible originally when I went into this, is actually the home that when you play Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is like your home, so it's like the little starter, the Pokemon trainer starter home or whatever you want to call it. So I was going to try to do that, and I've seen people, I think ended up seeing one after this that someone had actually done that actually looks really good and matches it up. But as I was doing, like, building this, I was going in with the full intentions of trying to copy it as much as possible and make it look as exact as possible. But then I started, like, as I was building it, I was like, I sort of wish these were different colors on the wall and like all this other stuff. So it's like loosely inspired by that home, but I started changing some of the colors as I started going on and different little things like that. But for the most part, like the structure, like the way the structure is built and stuff is, from what I could tell, exactly like as closely to possible as it is. Obviously I don't think you can see the back of the house ever. So the back of the house, I just sort of added like that little thing on the back because it just seemed fitting. But, you know, anyway, this house does end up being sort of on the small side, at least for me. I tend to build bigger builds, but I have a few smaller builds now that I have done. One of them is not published yet, but it's ready to go up. So you'll be seeing it sometime after this one, because this one's going to go out first. But I did start building this build shortly before Eco Lifestyle came out, and then I finished it after Eco Lifestyle came out, like the inside furnishings and stuff. And I meant to try to not use anything from Eco Lifestyle, because I'm trying to keep aware of what packs I do use, so unless it's something like I really want to use, I was trying to keep some packs like down to the bare minimum. But I ended up using an object from Eco Lifestyle unknowingly until after I'd already went and started adding things here and there, and I was like, well, let's just go on with it then, and just go with Eco Lifestyle being a thing in this house. But if you don't end up having some of the packs that I actually use for this build, when in the gallery you can actually click on the little circles for the packs, and then click on items in this build, and you can see which items it is, and if it's not a whole lot of items, or items that you can easily replace with stuff from other packs, or even CC if you have your own CC, you can easily determine it from there whether or not it's, you know, easy to replace when downloading it. Words. Anyway, so right now I'm still working on the outside of the house. I actually will say I cut out some things that I do on the outside of the house just because it was the same repetitive thing over and over and over again. And that's actually going to be dealing with the roof and it's like plant life. So you'll see what I mean when I get to that point. But I did cut some of that out just because it was a very long, repetitive process of just watching me put all that on there. But I try to put quite a bit of plants outside just because, one, where it is, like, loosely inspired by that build, in that build actually has, in the Pokemon game, a lot of, like, plants and stuff outside of it, but also just because the overall feel that was starting to come from this house as I went further on just seemed like a nice little cozy cottage sort of vibe going on, and it's near the woods, so I was like, I want to give it plant life. So I did try to incorporate quite a bit of plants and flowers and all that stuff. Granted, flowers are plants, but you know what I'm saying. Now, one thing that is obviously different from if you are trying to slightly still compare this to the Pokemon Trainer Home that I used for reference to begin with, it is, like, flipped. And that's also partially because the lot that I chose to do it on, I just thought it made sense to actually have the doorway and, like, the curved landing and stuff this way, so I sort of flipped the house. So just beginning off with, I was already sort of changing a few things compared to the actual house that I was referencing, but the further along I went, the more it got different, because right now, like, the outside of the walls are the best color that I could find that matched the one in Sword and Shield, but then I ended up changing that, like, completely. I think it's after I put all this ivy and stuff everywhere, I'm like, I want it to be a different color. I'm gonna go with my own thing. So that's when it slowly starts divulging from trying to look exactly like it to just trying to be inspired by it. But you'll slowly see that transformation over time. And let's just say placing all this ivy, and especially on the roof, when you start seeing, like, those portions, oh boy, that is a lot of work going in there. It took forever to do all that, to place all of this ivy. It was like, I'm pretty sure I took, like, a few breaks when it came to placing all this ivy and stuff, and just trying to, like, you know, make it look nice. And now, in regards of the ivy, it is from the live edit object, so just so you know, I did use that, and I also have the bb.move objects on. I always use bb.move objects, so that's just a thing that's with my builds. I always use it, so just be prepared that I have used it. So if you ever go download any of my builds, just make sure I have bb.move objects on, so that the objects don't, like, glitch out of place where I have them. But yeah, so that's how they are on there. Now, in a few places it does, like, glitch through the wall on the inside, but it's not a whole lot, and for me it's something that I can sort of ignore for the look and aesthetic of, you know, the whole outside of the build. So I looked past that and, you know, was like, alright, it's only a few pieces here and there, and a lot of it's more towards the ceiling than it is, like, the actual walls, except for, like, one or two places. So you easily can look over that. Now, also placing the flowers and stuff alongside these fence, I also did cut some of that out just because that also took a really long time and it became very repetitive. I tend to not try to cut too many things out unless a build gets too big and then, like, too long, and it's in that awkward stage where it's not long enough to make into two-part videos, but it's not short enough that I like the length of it. And a lot of times the bathrooms get sacrificed in a lot of my speed build videos, but as of recently I haven't actually edited out any of the bathrooms. But right now, this is what I did on the roof thing to actually give, like, that ivy growth even up onto the roof. Now, a few places I go up higher just because some of the ivy that I used on the wall sticks up through the roof. So I try to make it look like, you know, there's just some places it's growing more so than other places. And I do that around the whole side of the house and the roof. And I even do it on, like, where the roof, I don't know the terms, like, right there, you see right there, it's going across that board on the wall, not on the roof just as well. I don't know house terms very well, but yeah, it's along that trim that is for the roofs that are got the walls attached to them versus just the all angled roof or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so yeah, I'm still working on outside, adding lovely plants to give this a very lovely and colorful feel. I haven't changed the walls yet, but I promise you it's coming. It's coming. I'm going to change the walls because I don't like them. It looks alright, but I was like, I think I started when I think I want to make this my own, and I'm not feeling this color as much, so I do eventually change it. And I was sort of experimenting here with putting like pots or flowers up on the fencing there, but I decided not to, and I just start putting these pots everywhere. I wanted to add some red here and there. I don't know, maybe that's also inspired from the original one. Maybe there was some red pots out there, or at least red flowers maybe, but I can't remember. I think at this point I'm still sort of loosely trying to make it look similar to the actual build in the game, and that's about to go out the window to a certain extent. But I really did enjoy actually making this. It's a little bit different from what I've done, just because I don't tend to use ivy and stuff much on the builds, or even like on the roofing or anything like that. And that rooftop I usually don't use anywhere but in Solani, and I did not actually build this in Sulani. Obviously, this is actually Windenburg, which is from Get Together. If you don't have that pack, that's where I built this. But obviously you don't have to put this in the exact same place that I build them. Sometimes I do take like the area in account when I do builds, but easily certain areas will actually fit pretty well, and others. Windenburg is one of the ones that a lot of the worlds have at least enough similarity to, like Willow Creek and Newcrest, and even certain sections of the new place I think has quite a few grassy areas when you go up towards the top. I probably wouldn't myself put this build up there, but there's a few areas there that also work. Brindlesham Bay, they at least have enough grassy areas and some like trees and stuff growing around that it could easily fit there if you wanted it to. But this is built on a 30 by 20 lot. I actually remembered to sort of write this stuff down. So it is a 30 by 20 lot, and it is, rounding up, it's about 64,000 simoleons. So it isn't like a starter home. I almost pretty much never make starter homes. I should try to make some starter homes here. The only one that I even slightly classed as a starter home is the one that my fame trio is living in still. And that was like a semi-starter. It was still a little bit more than what usually people for starters try to go for, that 20,000. Obviously, the more sims you have, you get a little bit more money, but even for them, I think I still went over the starter budget, but I didn't go far over. I tried not to go too far over, and I was adding stuff as they got money. So that's the closest to a starter I've ever made, just because I want to fill the house with things. Let me put all the things in the house. So yeah, this is not a starter, but you can, if you want this to be the one that your family moves into, you can easily use free real estate on. Very lovely cheat for when, you know, you want to pretend like the house has been passed down from families, or like, you know, something along those lines for your story. So yeah, easily can use that cheat to get this. This build will be up on the gallery. I keep sort of mentioning the gallery, but I've never mentioned the name of the build necessarily, even though it should be in the title. But my origin ID is Artistic Gamer 7, and the build's name is Rustic Family Home. So you can find it there if you would like to add this build to your game and enjoy it with your small family as well. And it is meant for more of a small family. There is only 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. The kitchen, living room, sort of study area, because there is a computer here in the living room, and like some bookcases. That's all opened. The other places that are closed off are just literally the other 2 bathrooms and the 2 bedrooms. Now, easily, if you wanted to change this up a little bit, you can probably make the living room a little bit smaller to make the bedroom a bit bigger, and you can have, like, twins or something in there. But otherwise, it's probably only going to be, like, 1 child, and then the single mom or dad, or the couple, whichever it may be for your certain circumstance. But I definitely still wanted to go for that cozy family vibe, so you'll see, like, as I go into decorations and stuff like that, I put, like, little things that looks like the kid has painted. Even the mailbox that I put the mailbox on off screen. You should see it in the screenshots, which will be at the end of the video. It looks like it's been hand painted, so I just imagine that the child has hand painted the mailbox and the parents let them parent, or parents, depending on your situation. I actually don't have any Sims planned in mind to move into this house just yet. So we'll see if I do want to add this to my main save, but I just don't know who's gonna live into it yet. Basically, all these builds I do for the most part, except for like ones I do for collabs and things like that, I try to actually eventually move into my main save. So eventually it's gonna be like all my builds for the most part, or at least renovations, because some builds like the Goth family home, I don't actually want to delete that one just because it's the Goth family, but I do think I want to renovate it and make it like a little bit more unique to like mine. So I think I'm gonna do like a renovation on it, but I'm not gonna like straight up build it from scratch. So anyway, I am trying like pretty hard to go with more of that cozy cottage feel inside this home, make it seem like this family like lives here and, you know, does things, and it's just all sort of cutesy and cozy inside. It's a lot of like orange, like rust colors, basically orange, reds, browns, tans, so on that forth. For the most part, it's those colors. I do add in the living room, I think I add a few like greenish blues eventually, so there's like just that sort of pop of color, and that is the eco lifestyle item. Hopefully my voiceover matches up pretty well. But that bookshelf is the eco lifestyle item that I used without realizing that I used it beforehand, and I really liked the look of it, and I liked the thought of being able to put stuff up on there, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna use that. And then it was like 10-15 minutes later, I'd already placed quite a few more items that I was like, wait, that's eco lifestyle. I think it was when I actually started placing things on the bookshelf, because I do add stuff to the bookshelf, and I was like, dang it, oh well, too late now. I really like it being there, so I'm not changing it. So yeah, anyway, and I hope that I'm really bad at my camera moving. I feel like I need to get better at that, so I really hope that the video isn't too fast along with my camera movement. If so, please let me know down in the comments below so that I can know to really strongly work on that. So yeah, definitely let me know that in the comments below if I need to work on that and stuff. I will not find it offensive, because I know it probably is one of the things that I do need to work on. But it would be helpful to know how bad it is and how much I need to work on it. So please let me know down in the comments below if the video is too fast, or if my movement is too crazy that the video's speed would be fine if it wasn't for the way that I move my camera, or if it's a little bit of both. So yeah, anyway, so right now I'm on to the living room, and I will say, like, I'm used to doing, like, you know, builds with a little bit more room in them, so the fact that I was like trying to squeeze everything in, and I had like these doorways really close to the stuff that was gonna be like there, I was like, well, trying to squeeze it, and I normally put like 2 chairs on the side of the couch. I had to not do that this time, so I had to only be able to put 1 chair, which is fine, and it actually looks just perfectly fine, but I'm not used to builds in that way. Especially this one also has like a narrowness to it when it comes to where the kitchen living room areas are, so that was another thing to work against that I'm not as used to. A lot of my builds are a little bit, they're not big. I'd say like anywhere from medium to large to extra large. I don't tend to do extra small and small size builds. They are now sizes of clothes. So yeah, and I'd say if I do any of them, it's more towards small than extra small. Though this probably classes more like small and not extra small, so I still struggle with small. But anyway, so yeah, now I'm on the bathroom, obviously, duh, you could tell. I will say I like the kids' bedroom, which I should be heading into now, because I definitely ended up going with a different color palette in a kid's bedroom than what I normally do, and also I love this bed. Like, it's one of my favorite beds ever for, like, out of the single beds. But like using greens, like these different green tones, olives and browns and stuff like that, I don't tend to use in almost any room in general, much less the kids' room. I usually tend to try to do the kids' rooms in brighter colors. But this was a little bit of a change, and I actually really ended up enjoying the different color palette because it was a little bit different for me, and I liked it. Obviously, I've said different like 10 million times. It's different, guys. If you didn't know, it's different. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I will say with the toy boxes recently, I don't know if I've ever thought about it in the past, but with the toy boxes, when I've been building some houses that have like a kid's room in it, trying to not use some of the same toy boxes and like in the same colorways, I've noticed is like struggle for me, and like a toy box that fits with more of the theme and like the style that I'm sort of going through in my head for that room. The style of toy box doesn't have the color I need. It like does anyone else have that problem? Like there's quite a few toy boxes, but some of them I don't use at all, and then some of them they fit the style of the room, but then they don't fit they don't have any color patterns of the room that I'm using. But anyway, maybe that's just my own struggle. Maybe I'm just like weird about the way I design things. I don't know. Anyway, we should have been moved on to the master bedroom at this point. I will say with the master bedroom, I did remember that I did want to add a clothesline and things out back, so I needed like laundry hampers, obviously, and I realized I didn't put one in the kids' room, so then that was a struggle to try to squeeze that into the kids' room as well. But yeah, this is like the master bedroom, so this would be the one for the single mom or dad or the couple that you have in this house if you choose to download this for yourself. I did go with the more like tanny brown colors, and I didn't really have a reasoning for this. I really like that bed from Seasons, and I just sort of decided to go with that bed and then that color swatch, and that's just sort of where I went because I already had like the wood floors and like the cream walls, so I just went with the whole generic cream browns and tans. But honestly, I really like those colors together, and I think they look really, really nice. So that is sort of what I went with this room, is those colorways. I did add a TV. I will say the TV is a little off from like the walls. Like it's not center in the wall, but I had to slightly uncenter it from the wall to try to get it slightly centered to the bed. It didn't work out the way that I was trying to intend it to. Because I'm very, very very much in the center. Get it in the center. Or if you have two things, get them equally away from the edges or the center. I try to fit them in, unless I'm purposely going for an asymmetrical look. And even then, the asymmetrical design and things like that's gotta like at least center into the wall. So I was like, it's not centered to the bed when it's centered to the wall. But when it's centered to the bed, it's not centered to the wall. So I had to sacrifice a little bit of both. So it's not centered to either one of them, but it looks like it's closer centered to both at the same time. If you get my flow. And I actually remembered to actually put in curtains. But also the bathroom, I sort of went with the same sort of feel and color pattern in the master bathroom. But I did bring a little bit of blue in, a little splash of blue. But right now I'm just doing the finishing touches, basically, of putting curtains on, because I don't tend to usually remember to put curtains on, so yay me, I finally remembered. And anyway, I do really hope you enjoy and like this build and this video. This screenshot should be coming up very, very soon, so, you know, you could see little still images of how the whole build turned out. Let me know down in the comments below what was your favorite part about this build, and if there was anything that you wish you would have seen in the build. I don't mind taking like little like maybe like changes, like maybe you should have done this, because then I could keep that in mind. I always want to be learning and progressing in my building, so any little helpful hints or anything like that to maybe help me build better in the future, I will definitely take those any day. But anyway, if you would like to download this, remember it is going to be up on the gallery by the time this video is up. If for some reason you have a hard time finding it, let me know down in the comments or over on my Twitter, and I will help you find it, or even make sure that I remember to post it up on the gallery, because I try to do it like an hour or two before the video goes live. If I'm home, if I'm not home, I try to do it before I leave home, so that it's still up by the time the video goes live. But sometimes I do forget, so please let me know. Make sure to hit that lovely like button and subscribe if you're not already, so that you will see any more speed builds that come out in the future. And hit that little notification bell so that you are notified when those videos do go live. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!